Welcome to the Red Dead Podcast, where we'll be exploring the trials and triumphs of being a father, men's mental health, and any other topic that inspires us to be rad. Through a series of interviews, your host, Jace Kelly, will be discussing and discovering the best ways to become a rad dad. Now your host, Jace.
All right, welcome to the Rad Dad Podcast. This is episode 15, and it's kind of a mile marker for me because I've done this for 15 weeks. We've done one episode a week for 15 weeks, and I have my brother, Trent Kelly, on. Trent, I've known you for, 28 years? Are you 28?
28, yeah, in March.
Yeah.
So,
I had this elaborate plan when I started the podcast to, I had a list of 15 or 20 people that I wanted on. And Trent was one of the first ones I wanted on because he had a pregnant wife. And I was like, man, it would be so cool to get Trent on the podcast like within a week of becoming a father and having his first kid. So you've been a father for
1 week today.
1 week today.
1 week today, right on it. Yeah.
Okay. We'll get into how that's going. First, I want to thank my new sponsor, newegg.com.
No.
I just wanted to see what you do.
I thought it was cool.
No, I'm just kidding. We don't have any sponsors yet, but if you want to sponsor us, please hit me up. So just to start off, tell me about like your upbringing. I know we're brothers and I already know your story, but just, where you grew up, how you grew up, like
Okay.
a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah. When I think of my childhood, I think of a lot of time hanging out with like Spencer and just by myself running around in that field out there.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time just on my own in my room, just playing with toys, playing with Legos.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time at wrestling practices, wrestling tournaments. Like that was a huge part of both of our childhoods. And so, I think a lot about that, like, just going to wrestling camps, and just going to school, coming home, going straight to wrestling practices, sometimes 2 wrestling practices in one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my childhood. What else?
Do you ever think back to that time and you're like, man, those were just simpler times?
Yeah. In some ways. Yeah. I think about like going to like the wrestling practices at Elite, like UVU, and it's like, it sucked really bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I hated that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I learned a lot from it though, but yeah.
We spent a lot of time together as brothers, just through the sport of wrestling. At least for me growing up, I feel like I had all these friends at school, but then they were like neighborhood friends. And like we had our bikes in our field, and each other.
Yeah.
So it was, looking back on it now, it's super cool, but I was like, I didn't go to friends' houses like a ton or like,
Yeah.
like every week.
Yeah. I mean, we had no neighbors. So yeah, it was like maybe once a week, go to a friend's house.
Yeah.
And then mom and dad would pick you up like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
When was if you can remember, when was the first time you thought about being a father?
Dang.
Like it could be like before marriage,
Yeah.
and you just had that thought come to your mind, like, what am I going to be like as a father?
I think it popped in my mind maybe a few times growing up as a kid in high school and stuff, but I didn't really dwell on it very much because it was just kind of like, oh, I wonder what it'll be like when I'm married and have kids. Like, I don't know. I don't think I thought about it very much. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really thought about it very much until I was married.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So take me through just quickly, like your experience being a husband to a pregnant wife. Well, okay, wait, we gotta go through this because I love this part. Take me through finding out that you were going to be a dad, that Liz was pregnant.
Yeah. So it was a whole experience. Like, I don't know. I'll start like initially when we first found out that we were pregnant, like 6 weeks later, Liz miscarried, and that was super hard because we'd been trying for a while, and we were super excited. She actually miscarried on her birthday.
Yeah.
I had gotten her a bunch of stuff, like mom stuff and pregnancy stuff for her birthday, and it was like on that same day she miscarried. So that was like super hard. And then I think it was like another month or 2 months later, we found out she was pregnant. And I think just like having going through like what we had, like, I think there was still some anxiety, like, oh, I hope this like still works out. But I do remember just being like, just as excited and floored, that she was pregnant. And I think like the whole experience of becoming a father and her being pregnant has been a lot for me to wrap my head around. And like, I'm still wrapping my head around it. It's just like, it's a lot. It's crazy. I don't know. It's like nothing that I've ever experienced, so it's hard to anticipate, but overall it's all been like very exciting, and all positive for sure.
During the pregnancy, did you have any self-doubts come to mind?
Oh, for sure. And like this whole past year, I felt like there was like a clock, like a countdown on the type of person that I needed to be. I definitely feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself. I struggled, especially beginning this year. Like I had a lot of different struggles with my mental health, and I just felt like I needed to get that stuff sorted out, and I just wanted to be like the best version of myself by the time the baby was here. And so I think there's definitely those self-doubts, and I think that knowing there was a baby on the way brought those out even more.
Yeah.
and kind of forced me to do a lot of soul searching and looking within, and like trying to really work on myself and grow into who I needed to be.
Yeah, there's different approaches that men take when their wives or their significant other's pregnant. That being one of them. One of them being stepping out of the picture, you know, or just being absent, you know, like one thing that drives me nuts is I hear these stories about, or I see these posts on social media about this, you know, these husbands, they think it's funny because they bring their PlayStation or their Xbox to the hospital room. While their wife is having a baby, they're playing video games, and they post it and think it's funny. And that whole attitude around fatherhood drives me nuts. Because it's something to be taken seriously, and they think, I don't know, maybe I need to lighten up on that, but
I think in general, like I've noticed just growing up, is that with men, there is like a stereotype, and that a lot of men just fall into, is just like not caring about children or kids at all, not interacting with kids.
Yeah.
And like I've always been completely the opposite with all our nieces and nephews. Like I've always gone out of my way to try and have like relationships with them, and just like play with them and take them to do fun stuff. And like that's always how I've been. It's just like I feel like it's come very natural to me, having relationships with like my nieces and nephews. And so like I never felt that way, or I don't know, saw it as that like having a kid is like a burden or something getting in the way, but just like extra excited, I guess.
So 2 questions, if you're willing to dive into it.
Yeah.
What were some of the self-doubts, and what were some of the things you were confident in as far as your ability to be a father?
Yeah. I'll start with like the confidence. I think that, like I said, like I've always been a very creative person. I've always loved entertaining kids, making them laugh, just doing fun, different stuff. Like, I don't know, like we have like the treasure hunt that we do every year that we put on for our nieces and nephews. Like 3D printing them stuff. I don't know. I've always gotten like so much joy out of that. So I felt confidence in that way that I'd be able to like give my kid a really fun life, and just be able to have like a strong relationship with them from the beginning. Yeah. And be able to like go to their world and I don't know, just like help them see the world as like a fun, magical place, and bring my creativity to like my fatherhood. I think a lot of those doubts, like, there's just a few, some different stuff that was really big for me. Like, I've struggled for like the past couple of years a lot with depression, anxiety, and like just suicidal thoughts. And I've been working through that, like seeing therapists, tried different medications and stuff. And it's just a battle that's been going on and on. And I just felt like I just feel like I don't want that to wear off on my child. Like, I don't want them to see me struggling like that. But I also don't want to just try to hide it from them. Like, I want to like conquer that.
Yeah.
So that I can be like the best husband, best father. And, it's all like connected, but also just like a lot of insecurity, personal insecurity and shame, not liking who I am, or, stuff like that, self-doubts. And I feel like from what I've noticed in like my marriage with Liz is like the times, and with other people, the times that I like do dumb stuff, lash out, get angry, like just hurt others' feelings, it's always because of my own insecurities. It's always because I was being insecure about something. And I've really realized that like this year is that like, if I'm going to be able to love Liz fully and how she deserves, and love Clea, my daughter, fully how she deserves, like, I can't be insecure. Like, I need to let those things go, and I need to like learn to love myself. And that like the more that I love myself, it's like the more, it's almost like I've realized with Liz, especially, like, she has so much love to give me and she cares about me so much, but it's like when I don't love myself, it's almost putting like a block.
Just bounces.
Yeah. It's just like, I'm not letting that full love hit me and come in. I'm only absorbing like 50% of it. Because in my mind, it's like, okay, she really loves me, but I don't love myself. So she's just not seeing certain parts of me, or like I'm hiding certain parts of me. And so it's like, I'm always, part of me, has had like disagreements, like, oh, like you love me, but you don't know like the full me, I guess, if that makes sense. And that was just my insecurities, or like not believing that she loved certain parts of me. And so I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's just that like, I found that like when I let go of my insecurities, I'm able to feel love more, and I'm able to give it more. So that was like the biggest thing for me this past year. And I feel like I have made like insane amounts of progress with my mental health this year, my insecurities, and I've just learned a lot about myself. And I feel a lot more confident now being a father, just a lot more capable of loving myself.
Yeah. A few points that have come to my head while you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being, you said there was a clock to get to this point before Clea was here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I felt like a clock, but I definitely felt like everything that could go wrong would like run through my mind up until Lincoln was born. And in that first minute, it was like a breath, just like, he's here, and it didn't matter how he came or what he looked like, what abilities he did or did not have. He was here and he was healthy. So I definitely relate to that. The second one that I was thinking about is the question popped in my head: do we let our kids see us struggle? Because men specifically, I mean, we've always been taught to kind of hide it. And that's part of the purpose of this podcast is just to talk more. And I'm not saying we have to just let the world know all of our struggles, but
yeah,
I don't know. Is it good to let your kids see you struggle? I don't remember, maybe kids just aren't aware, but I don't really remember watching mom and dad struggle, until my later years. But I'm talking like right there in front of us. Yeah. It was always stuff, you heard about or they talked to us about later.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I don't know, like, because I've thought about that too. And like, I mean, as far as the whole insecurity thing, like, I don't want Clea to know that like not loving herself is even an option.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't even want her to like, I don't know. But at the same time, like, I want to be someone there, you know, and have like a relationship with her that like, if she is having issues with that, that she can like come to me and talk about them and I can share my experience and stuff. But I don't know, maybe there's certain things like that that are heavier that they don't really need to like learn till later on, you know, and like I can open up to her when she's older about like some of the struggles I've had and stuff. But I don't know. I think that also it is good to like normalize with kids that like it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to feel sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important for them to see that too. Cause I don't know, maybe part of it is like growing up with parents that, like you said, like we didn't see it as much. I think maybe like for me, maybe that affected me feeling like there was like, I didn't see other people struggling with the same things, even though they probably were. So like, I feel like that also kind of made me feel obsolete in that way, like different. Like I have struggles and like not liking myself and that's not normal and stuff, and like depression and stuff like that. Like, so I don't know. That's a hard one to, I don't know. It's a hard one to answer, just straight on, but
I don't know either.
I don't know. Those are some of my thoughts.
I think it develops with each generation. The answer to that question develops because the world gets crazier and crazier, you know? Mm-hmm. And I've struggled with the thought, and I think you have as well, if I remember correctly, of bringing kids into this world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's scary. I think there's a lot of hard things. There's a lot of good things too. 'Cause I think that like there's a lot of problems today that our parents didn't deal with, but there's also a lot of things that, a lot of positives. Like we don't have like polio or like diseases like that and stuff.
Overall, we have it pretty dang good.
Yeah. And like we're comfortable. And so it's like, I think I just try to focus more on that like you can have so many anxieties of how the future is going to be, but I don't know. I think that like there'll always be some things that are hard, some things that are good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know. I guess I just don't think about that very much. I just think more about like how my relationship with her will be, and just like the positive impact that she can have on the world as an individual and having an influence. But yeah, a lot of my hope too is like to, like we were talking about, just to teach her to love herself, teach her to love others. And I guess like kind of circling back to that question, I guess like it's hard to have the answer for everything, but I think that if I can just like show her through example what it looks like to like love life and to love yourself, that good will come of that.
Yeah.
And like, I think that kids can tell when you fake it too, you know, and I want her to be able to see me as that kind of an example of like what self-love and self-care looks like. Yeah.
One thing that really surprised me in the first 6 months of being a dad is, well, and up until now, because it's even more so now, but it's how much Lincoln absorbed our emotions, even if I tried to hide them.
Yeah.
If I was frustrated, you know, he's up in the middle of the night crying or whatever, and I'm frustrated and I'm trying to hide it.
Yeah.
If I let that anger take over, even if I don't, you know, act out and yell or anything, I feel like Lincoln could sense it and he would cry more. And it also goes, you know, the positive way as well. If you're happy and all is well, I feel like the kid is. I mean, it's not that black and white, but I do believe that our kids absorb our emotions, and it can be for the good or the bad.
Yeah. How soon did you notice that he was like doing that?
I think 3 or 4 months.
Really?
You know, when the nights were starting to get really rough. Maybe it was 2 months. It's all a blur.
Yeah.
But I know it was early on. And I talked to Katie about it, and she's, when I pointed it out, she's like, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, their brains are absorbing like so much.
Yeah.
It makes sense that they'd be able to like pick up on that. And I think it's hard to know how to like, for them to like, interpret like certain emotions like that and stuff.
Of course.
Like, yeah, that's interesting.
So when Cleo was born, what changed in you and what changed in your marriage?
Yeah. So when Cleo was born, I just remember when Liz was like, after she delivered the baby, like she was doing fine up until that point, and she delivered the baby, and I remember Clea like had a hard time crying right off the bat, and I was just like holding my breath, like because I always heard that wasn't a good thing. I just remember she cried a little bit, and then she was like grunting, and the nurses were like, I could tell they were nervous, and they're like patting her on the back. One of the nurses like flicked her thigh like really hard, trying to get her to cry, and then Liz like was bleeding out, like she lost like twice as much blood as I guess you're supposed to, and so she was just like going into like they had her hold her for a little bit, and then it's like they had to take her away to try and get her to cry, and then Liz started to like shake, and she was like getting super nauseous, and it's like and that was really scary because like the first time, normally I'm so used to like, okay, take care of Liz, but it's like there's two things going on at once. Like the baby over there like not doing good, she wasn't doing good, and it was like very vulnerable feeling of like how much I loved both of them, and like if anything happened, like how hard that would be. But I remember like, so Liz was like, I don't know, it all happened pretty quick. It's like maybe a 5 or 10 minute span, and like the doctors were like, okay, like, she was like doing better. They were taking care of her. She's starting to feel a little bit better. And then Clea was like crying better, breathing well. And Liz wasn't feeling super good, but they brought the baby over to me. And I just remember like, I was like holding her up, and I was like just looking into her eyes. And I just remember she looked like she was just looking in my eyes, and she had like this confused look in her face. And I just remember looking into her eyes and feeling like so much love for her, and just like I just wanted to protect her and not let anything bad ever happen to her. It was like, I don't know, I just felt like such a instant bond and connection. I've never felt that way about anything. It's like with your spouse, it's like gradual, like you get to know them and stuff. With her, it's like all that love, like all at once. And like it was like almost like I felt like I was reborn in a way, and I still feel that way like a week after. Like I still feel like life just feels different in a way. I feel like it's the best way I can describe is say like I was reborn, because it feels like almost that whole chapter has been closed and like a whole new one has been opened. Yeah. And I just remember thinking like, I don't know, I saw like something on Instagram or something, like some reel of some guy talking about how like, if you died today, like would you feel accomplished? Would you feel happy with your life? And I remember like normally if that was like popped in my head, I'd just be thinking like, no, like I need to do this. I need to like make this kind of money. I need to get these things. I need to travel these places. Like I have stuff I want to do, but it's like, that was the first time like that thought was popped in my head, and I was like, man, like if I died tomorrow, like yeah, I'd be sad that I wouldn't be able to watch her, but I'm like, I would feel accomplished with my life, just bringing her into this world. Like that's how much like purpose and sense of accomplishment and pride that like her life brought me that fast. And so that's, probably the biggest way it's changed me is just feeling like just accomplished and proud to have her. And I think too, like instantly I felt like such a stronger sense of duty to provide for her and take care of her. I don't know, like since then it's just like I'm kind of like, screw me, like I don't care about my needs or wants. Like I don't care, like I'm gonna do whatever I have to like give her as much as I can. Like, I don't care, you know? And that was new. And then, in my marriage, I think that, I don't know if I'd say that it's like this huge drastic change. I think that it's just, shown me how the kind of relationship that I have with my wife and how great it is, because it's just being tested even more than it ever has been. And I just feel like it's shown me that even more of like how good of a relationship we have, how good of a team we are. It's brought that out a lot, just like through the nights, like working together. And it hasn't been easy, because there definitely has already been lots of sleepless nights and just adjusting to everything. But I don't know. I guess it has been really cool to see Liz be a mom and fall into that role. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Everything just feels better. Like, just feels more saturated with love and joy.
So when you were in the hospital, did you ever have a moment like to yourself where you're like, I'm a dad? Like, holy crap, I'm a dad. Or like when the doctor calls you dad or something, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I remember like the first thing was like when they were born, they're just like, get over here, Papa Bear. Like when we're weighing them and stuff, I'm like, it doesn't sound right. Like, I don't know. It still feels weird. Like saying my daughter and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't, I'm not adjusted to that at all. Like,
yeah.
Like the title of being a dad and stuff like that. I don't know. Like I said, it's just like, I just feel like my brain is like really, it's taking its time to digest the fact that I have a kid and that I'm a father and all that. Just like becomes more and more real every day. But I don't know if it was like a single moment where it just like hit me. That like, whoa, I'm a dad. I guess that moment, like when I was like, I first held her and stuff, you could say that was a moment where, you know, I realized like, wow, like I'm this baby's father.
Kind of just to go off of what you said, what you said was beautiful. When the first time you held Clea, what I felt was like this newfound drive to just like get after it, just attack the world.
Just grind.
No, but like I just remember being, you know, we brought Lincoln home and I had my days off to help Katie, but then I was like so anxious to like go back to work and just like go give it my all so that I can make sure Lincoln has the best life.
For sure.
You know, and every day, like I woke up with purpose, because no matter how hard work was or whatever, I could come home and I could see Lincoln and I don't know. I just felt like way more drive to just live life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think like with my job that I have now, it's like I have paternity leave for like 2.5 weeks of paternity leave. So it's like I haven't had that experience of like having to leave her yet. The longest I've like been away is like to run to Walgreens.
Or this, probably.
This. So it's like, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Do you feel like that was really hard, like the first couple of days, just leaving and going to work? Like,
well, I work from home, so I don't know.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah. How was that, like working from home with like a newborn baby? Was that like hard to like, I don't know, was it hard to like step away?
You
like,
work when the baby's sleeping.
Was it distracting?
You work when the baby's sleeping, right? Mm-hmm. Which can suck because that's when you want to rest.
Yeah.
Because it you know, it can wear on you, the sleep loss. But
yeah.
So run me through bringing the baby home and like, just, I know that's always a weird experience. Like they're like, okay, here's this baby.
Yeah.
Like, see ya.
Just driving home, just drive super slow over every bump. When it turns green, the light turns green, just waiting an extra like 5 seconds to go to make sure no one's gonna hit you. But I don't know, it was really weird, like getting home, but it also felt really good.
Yeah.
It's like just being in the hospital and stuff. Like you don't feel like super comfortable because it's not, but then compared to your home, like where you feel like you can be comfortable and like, I don't know, that was really cool. Just bringing her home. And then just like, just those nights, just like, they're long, just not sleeping, trying to like, she has to feed and changing diapers and stuff like that. And I think that like me and Liz definitely like we were prepared in a lot of ways, but also like we were kind of like scrambling around, both trying to do the same thing, didn't know how to like delegate and stuff. And
you never really know till you know.
Yeah. I feel like even in the past like week, like we've gotten to a point where it's like we kind of have more of a routine down and know what to do and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been good. But
is there something unexpected that you've learned since having her home?
I think it's like, I don't know. I think like I've never felt connected to newborns at all. Like,
yeah,
I've always like been nervous to hold like the nieces and nephews or like other people's baby when they're newborns. And like, I'm kind of like, oh, like, am I going to feel an attachment? Like if all she does is sleep and poop and eat. I think what surprised me is like how that changed with her and how different it was with her. Like, I don't know. It's been nice just to hold her.
Yeah.
And nice just to like,
isn't it cool? It's just like you're just like chilling with a baby now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It feels cool.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome. Yeah, it's great. And even just doing like, I don't know, did you and Lincoln do like the skin to skin? Like you take your shirt off and stuff. Like doing that with her has just been awesome. Like, I don't know. You can definitely feel like a lot more bonded with them and stuff, and just chilling, watching a show. Like, I don't know, like in some ways it's been more chaotic. Like the nights are more chaotic, but then also in a lot of ways it's been a lot more enjoyable than I thought. Like I kind of thought that it was just gonna be boring and I'd just be like pulling my hair out, and that like even during the day just like crying and sleeping, and it'd just be, and it has been hard and there has been like restless nights, but I think there's also been a lot of good like times where we're able to just relax, watch a show and hold her, and just like I said, just it's fun to hold her. And I just feel a lot more connected to her than I thought I would, even as a newborn.
What are you looking forward to most now that you've experienced fatherhood and you have a baby at home?
I'm looking the most forward to her being like 4 to 6 weeks, to where she starts to smile and laugh.
Yeah.
And I can like, I'm like really, I don't know, I think about that a lot. I'm like, I can't wait till the first time I can like do something stupid to make her smile or make her laugh.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of, and then there's like tons of stuff that's like down the road that's, you know, I'm excited for, like when she's Lincoln's age and we can like go out to the zoo or go do different fun things. But right now, I think that's like what I'm most excited about is just the small stuff, the firsts.
So at the end of the podcast, I ask all my guests this question, and the question is, what is the one thing that you want to leave your family with when you're no longer here? The one lesson.
Just that I might have to go really broad and then try to narrow it down. But I don't know. It's like the first thing that comes to my mind is just that like the world is your oyster, and that like I just want them to feel, I don't know, I want them to fall in love with life and being alive, and I want them to like learn how to, I don't know, like treat the people around them and to treat themselves, and just like, I don't know. I feel like it's just not, I don't know, it's not talked about enough of just like loving life, just being in love with it and being in love with it every day. And I think that like for a long part of my life, I thought that it would just be waves. Like I'd be sad and then I'd be happy, and I'd be sad and then I'd be happy. And that's just how it is. And because that's how it is for a lot of people. But I realized that it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. There'll be like good times and bad times, but I can still maintain like that happiness and that like love of life throughout that. So I really want that for Clea. I want her to just fall in love with life and just to be excited of every adventure around the corner, and just to learn to love the little things, family gatherings, and just having relationships with her family and friends, and, you know, finding a passion and following that, just all the little things. Doesn't have to be crazy, or she doesn't have to have like some wild, extravagant life, but just one that like makes her happy and that she can love. But yeah, just learning to be in love with life.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your experience of becoming a father.
Yeah.
And hope to have you on again and you know, see your experience with multiple kids or an older kid or whatever it is. So thanks for being here.
Okay.